Hey everyone, Cali Gold here again. So what I did was I took all the Starfield videos, the official videos, in chronological order, and I put them all together, created my own video file, all edited. It starts with all the introductory stuff, all the way into the official reveal, and also the post-reveal interviews. So I put that all together so that I could watch it myself, took all that crap out that's not needed, all the filler. And then I thought, hey, why not just go ahead and put this up to YouTube? So that's what I've done here. So I've got it all strung together for you, all that stuff removed, so you can watch it all in sequence up until today's date. So here it is. Thanks, guys. And I'll be making more videos in the future. This is the most anticipated game for me this year, Starfield. Outside of that is probably Diablo 4, but it's going to be Starfield. Thanks, guys. Hope you like the video.
Behold Akila City, the capital of the Freestar Collective, a loose confederation of 3 distinct star systems. The city itself is home to a variety of people, but they all have one thing in common. They believe in the sanctity of personal freedom and individuality. Akila City is walled for a reason, and stepping outside those walls means facing the deadly Ashta, alien predators that are a cross between a wolf and a velociraptor. What you're looking at here is the pleasure city of Neon. The Xenofresh Corporation built a giant fishing platform on a rather nondescript aquatic world. They wanted to catch fish until they discovered a fish with psychotropic properties. They could make way more money selling a drug than they could fish. That drug is Aurora and is legal only on Neon. People come from all over to experience it and everything else Neon has to offer. Hi, I'm Emil Pagliarulo, Design Director of Bethesda Game Studios. What you're looking at here is the spaceport of the city of New Atlantis, the capital city of the United Colonies, or UC, the most powerful, established military and political faction in the game. The city is a true melting pot, and its residents come from every race, creed, and ethnicity. In a lot of ways, New Atlantis is a true reflection of the future of our world. Hi, I'm Emil Pagliarulo, Design Director of Bethesda Game Studios. We're very excited to offer you this exclusive look at Starfield and the exciting universe we've created, which is an area of our solar system we call the Settled Systems. Our game is set in the year 2330, in a relatively small pocket of the Milky Way, in an area that extends outward from our solar system for approximately 50 light years. Around 20 years before the start of the game, the 2 largest factions in the Settled Systems, the United Colonies and Freestar Collective, engaged in the bloody Colony War. Today, the major factions enjoy an uneasy peace, but the Settled Systems is still pretty dangerous. There are plenty of human threats out there, like ecliptic mercenaries, pirates of the Crimson Fleet, violent spacers, or even the fanatical religious zealots of House Varun. The organization known as Constellation is committed to uncovering the mysteries of the galaxy, and as one of its newest members, you'll explore the deepest reaches of the Settled Systems, and you'll find yourself at home in the Starfield.
I think the one thing people underestimate about video games is that people think it's just playtime, but I always say that the one thing video games can give you that nothing else in entertainment can is that feeling of pride, right? Look what I did. And even though we want to make a game that is very big and is very long, you can play for all of those years, it's all the paths you didn't take that make it special to you, that you feel like when you finish that quest, that you feel that you accomplished something that week. The people who love video games can always say, like, what'd you do today? I saved the world.
We've been incredibly lucky to work with such a tight group of people for so long. Like, we're all friends. It's like a second family in a way. We all sort of know or get what a Bethesda game is.
There's definitely this core group who's been working together for decades and knows how to make a BGS game. And then there's this new generation of game developers who are coming in and working at BGS, who grew up on those games those people made. For some people, those are the games that got them to go into the industry in the first place. And what I love about that is those people come in and they love the worlds too, and they want to stay true to those worlds that they grew up on. And so we're still able to maintain what a BGS game is, but continue to evolve.
I think we underestimate how long people are going to play it. You look at Skyrim, we're sitting here 10 years later, and it keeps having this life, and it changes how you want to create something.
Yeah, I feel like our games sort of have two lives, right? Like, we create this game, and we put everything we can possibly put into it, tell the stories we want to tell, and build this world that's sort of a setup that when we hand it off to the players, they play it, but then they take it and make it their own. They tell their own stories, and then they make their own stories with our tools.
I think it's the hallmark of our games that, you play it, and my experience is going to be different than yours. I'm going to come in and tell you a funny story about something that happened to me. You may never have seen that because just a confluence of events. And I think that helps with the longevity, and it helps with that feeling of community in a lot of ways.
It is a world that you get transported to that you can really make your own. And that's where, for me, the magic is, to do it for 2 decades and close to that for so much of our group, there's a big trust there that we know how we solve certain things together. We were doing Morrowind and looking at what we might do after that and beyond that. And we had a list of what are the other types of worlds we want to go to. And obviously Fallout was at the top of the list, if we could do that, and that, magically, luckily came true for us. And right behind that was, science fiction. Going to space, I think there's a magic in just defying gravity and taking off from a planet. It's extremely difficult human endeavor.
Yeah, a lot of our games are about exploration, and that's sort of that's the ultimate exploration, is what's out there, what's past Earth, right? So it's incredibly exciting for us to work on something like that. I feel like every time we come to a game, we're starting fresh. We're saying, okay, we just did that one, that's over. How do we make it better in every way? It's got a more realistic, science-based backing to it, whereas Skyrim is sort of an epic fantasy. This is a more grounded game and a grounded setting about exploration. So I think that gives us a different take on how we make everything. So that's sort of the thing you latch onto when we're making new areas, making environments, making characters.
The mechanics of the world are entirely different, but there are similarities. And I think those are things we like. Like, we like playing first person. We like having all the coffee cups. We like being able to touch everything. Those moments make the whole thing believable. Being able to watch the sunset and nighttime come and just sit there and watch the world go by seems like it's not gameplay, but it is vital to how you feel through the rest of it.
I also think that because it's based in a more realistic atmosphere, is you have a lot of people on our team who are super into certain things like robotics or engineering, and they can use this lifetime of knowledge they have gathered and then use it in their work.
Everyone comes from these different areas and brings stuff to the game that can make it in, and it all matters, from the rocks to the clutter to what the spacesuits look like. It's based on people's experience and sort of learning about how things work in the world and trying to apply it in a way that's believable for this universe.
Yeah, it starts feeling so real to us. All you're saying, we do all that stuff, but then concepting everything they eat, or the toys the children play with, or what are their bedtime stories? What is their art? What is their history? What is their entertainment? It is a universe, not just a game.
There has to be an emotional trigger that occurs. And I think as time has gone on, we're able to paint an even better picture that triggers that emotional thing.
We always have that step out moment into the world, so to say. Technology's changed, we've all changed. So our expectations when loading up a game, okay, I'm gonna step out, and there's gonna be this moment. Us being able to do that and have it feel new every generation, every game, is something that is really special about what we do. I like to say that Starfield has 2 step out moments. it's cryptic. Our process of making it is a journey for us that is very, very rewarding. And coming to Starfield, everybody's starting over and saying, what would you want to do? What does going to space mean to you? And everybody comes back to the same one. I want to see what's out there.
The opening vistas of space promise high costs as well as high reward. We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained. The exploration of space is one of the great adventures of all time, and we mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it.
It's a level of immersion that we really focus on. You're not just playing a game, but you're living in this world, in this universe.
It's a giant open world for the player to do what they want.
You feel like you've had an impact in the world. You really feel like you're there.
There's certain, types of entertainment where you're just experiencing it. You're taking in what the creator wants you to see, and they draw that dotted line between this happens, go here, do this. The more that we can put you in the situation where you're going to decide. That's what makes video games the best form of entertainment that they are.
We don't just make RPGs, like we make simulations, and that leads to a lot of just crazy stuff that can happen and things you don't expect.
Yeah, we always have those big fights, like, what if combat breaks out right now, right? You have to handle that, right? Because it could. You can't control it. The only thing you control is that the game has to account for it somehow.
We embrace the chaos, let it play out, and usually it's pretty fun.
A lot of us have been doing this for a long time together, and it's nice with Starfield to go back to some things we didn't do, the backgrounds, the traits, the defining your character, all of those stats. And I think there's so many games now that do those things that people are ready for something that does a lot of the things that, older hardcore RPGs, some that we used to do, doing those again in a new way.
We've always allowed the player to create really interesting, unique characters. This game, we've definitely severely leveled up. The tech is based on scanning of real-world models, similar to the photogrammetry we do in our landscapes. We're kind of applying the same thing to our people as well, because it's not just the appearance of your player and all that, but we want all the personal interactions of NPCs, other characters in the game, to be as impactful as possible. And for that, you have to believe these are real people. You're a real person interacting with real people.
One of the big choices is which part of the game world am I going to engage in? We always make a bunch of different groups that represent some of the major factions in every game. And in this one, we've got the United Colonies that represents the future Space Republic, idealized. You also have the Freestar Collective, which is the space Western fantasy, people that are out there on the frontier. We've got Ryujin Industries, which represents corporate life. I think it has one of the best starts of any of the factions we've done.
It's a megacorp, and you get hired, right? That you would do, right?
We'll play for our job. We'll see if you cut the mustard.
Right.
Yeah, I love approaching it that way, where, okay, what makes the world feel whole? What are the groups that would make it feel whole and believable? And then how does the player interact with them? What we're doing with the pirates, the Crimson Fleet as well. They're not just this foe. Let the player join them. What does that mean?
The cool thing about Crimson Fleet, what if you're a good person and you want to be a good player and you don't want to play as a bad guy? You can side with the pirates, or you can report back your superiors and be like basically space cop type of thing. So let you be a good person and still play with the bad guys. I think that's really cool too.
It seems like no matter what story we write, the one the players tell themselves is the one that they think about and love the most, and the companions.
Hello, Captain. How may I be of assistance?
So something we really, leaned into on this game, how those other characters felt about you.
That's probably my favorite part. Like when you're exploring and then your companion makes some comment off the cuff about something that you're checking out or something that just happened, it just feels so perfect for immersion. It's so believable. You think it's a real person.
So, we knew we wanted to do some kind of persuasion minigame thing.
Yeah, we sat down and it was funny. We didn't start with, let's do an evolution of, let's look back at the old Oblivion system, but there are a couple of beats there. You have to think about, what's my risk here, right? Which one do I want to choose? We didn't want it to be a system where there was definitely the right thing to say.
It feels like you're having a conversation where you're actually trying to persuade somebody of something. So it's actually, I think it's, as far as new systems in dialogue, I think it's definitely one of the most successful ones that we've had.
Yeah. I think when we knew we were making a game about space, you ask yourself certain questions, and that question is, what is out there? And so, as a game, we have romance, adventure, mystery, but I think with Starfield, there's this other layer of, the cosmos and the universe and what is out there.
At the end of it, we want the players to have told their own journey, but then look back at it and we're asking the big questions. Why are we all here? Where is it leading? And what's next for humanity?
I always say that music is the fourth dimension. It is the emotional dimension. And so in order to create this, you have to ask these questions. Where are you going? What's your motivation? What is your story? What is really pushing us? This is what really drove me more than anything else. These huge questions, they're as big as space.
Everything I've worked on at this studio, the music started very early on, as early as the concept art for the game from when I began here in 2005. At that time, Oblivion was already well underway, but as we went on to Fallout 3 after that, that was one of the first things I worked on music-wise was the main theme, and that's always been the case, where the main theme sets the tone for everything else we do in the game. And there's time throughout the entire project for that to evolve.
That's true, and I remember during the Fallout 4 visit, which was actually in 2012, I was wandering through the corridors and I basically stumbled into the artist's room. And it was the first time I actually saw them do what they're doing. I was captivated. I was like, wow, this is really what it is all about. And I felt so inspired and motivated basically to go back and, to do the same thing with the palette of music. The biggest challenge is actually creating the signature.
I relax a lot once
Exactly.
we feel good about the main theme, because the rest is going to, it'll be work and iteration, but it's going to write itself.
The way I looked at Starfield always is what I called the sanctified triplet, which is everything is streaming, right? Everything is changing and everything is returning back. Ta-da, ta-da, here's your development. And then ta-da, and back. So basically it presents itself, it develops, it goes back.
Circular.
Is exactly some sort of like a circular journey.
You go out, you adventure, discover, return.
Yes, there's always the strive to go back home. And that's, I guess that's what feels so complete for us, right? We want to complete the mission. We want to complete our journey. We will find something, we will discover something, we'll take it with us, and we will go back home with it. When we built the traditional orchestral sound palette, we actually really divided the orchestral group. For example, took the woodwinds, okay? And we created like a whole woodwind layer that almost represents particle in space, because they don't play melodies at all. They play sort of like a high frequency sequence, you know, like together. So they almost don't sound like woodwind. They sound something between organic to synthetic. Then the strings, they will play this long chords or long melodies and long crescendos and diminuendos. And these kind of things along the line with the fast moving woodwinds will create a nice blanket around these waves, okay? And then comes the brass. And the brass, especially the French horns, playing sort of like the beacon, you know, the call of the brass.
Those instrument groups as well. A lot of times when you are looking at that whole main theme, I'm kind of salivating thinking about what can I do with that on the sound design side, you know, not just to weave the main theme into different key points in the game, leveling up, discovering new places. Could we use that as straight up sound design to take those woodwind tremolos and just let's slow them way down, let's reverse them. I'll take any of that music and turn it into ambience somewhere. The music is like the companion. It's the companion to the player in the single-player game. We don't have control over how the player chooses to experience the game. Our sense of scale had to be totally readjusted in making a game on a planetary surface as we've always done before, and now where you have these very vast distances against this black, starry background. It is a blank canvas in a massive playground, and all the pieces are there for you to write your own story. Whether you jump right in and you wish to follow the main quest, the main story, and go to the obvious. One point leads to another, leads to another. The music has a funny way of playing the right chord change at the right time, and a lot of that just happens at random. You look over the valley at just the right moment, and that just happens to be when this one chord change happens, and there are times like that that feel scripted, and they're not. And I like that each player has that experience for themselves personally.
I believe that the game is a whole experience, and music is part of the whole experience. I believe that the best music in a game is a music that you don't hear, music that you feel. This is something that is bigger than us. I mean, so many people worked on this game. And so my wish is that specifically the music will be present in a way that is going to magnify the entire experience.
Control, this is Constellation Starship Frontier. We're ready to start on your signal. Maintaining exit vector course. Steady till ready. Coordinates input. Plotting jump course. Guidance has converged. We're looking good. Allocating auxiliary reactor power. System checks are green across the board. Grav jump commencing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's hard to express how excited all of us at Bethesda are to be here with you today. We're so grateful you're spending the time, and we know you've waited a long time to finally see Starfield. It's easily our most ambitious game ever. Like our previous games, it's an epic role-playing game where you get to be who you want and go where you want. But this time, you'll be exploring space. So let's jump right in. This is early in the game as you arrive on the mysterious moon of Crete.
According to the scanners, the abandoned research facility is in this direction. Of the Crimson Fleet are using the facility.
After some initial encounters, you're invited to join Constellation, who, in the future the game is set in, are the last group of space explorers. To meet them, you'll head to the capital city of New Atlantis.
Welcome to Constellation. We have a lot to talk about. We're all here because we're committed to the biggest question of all. What's out there? These artifacts could be everything we've been looking for. As to what they are, what they're building, you'll be part of solving that puzzle now.
So, you found something?
The new guy found it.
You dug up the artifact, right? That means you saw it. The visions?
The artifact you found appears to be one of many, scattered across the galaxy. If we can find more, we can unlock their secrets.
Beautiful, isn't it? The man who sold me this told me that it spoke to him.
Of course, the settled systems is full of groups with other priorities.
That's the Crimson Fleet!
Everybody get ready!
The fleet doesn't follow the rules.
Bruce. Agreed to work for UCC Steph. And together, we take down these cutthroat pirates.
We're not just here to shoot the bad guys. We're peacekeepers. We protect the people of the Free Star Collective.
When you sign up with the Crimson Fleet, no one quits. The only way out is death.
The path ahead may be dangerous, but we are not stopping.
Most Dusties don't even make it this far.
Because whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.
That gives you a look at the stories in Starfield. But ultimately, it's not our story. It's the story you create by who you are and the choices you make. And that starts with character creation. It's our most flexible yet. You can customize all the elements of how you look. You'll pick a background that gives you 3 starting skills.
Says here you spent some time as a diplomat. Having a way with words might prove useful.
There are optional traits, and these come with unique advantages and disadvantages. But it's not just in how you can look, but in how your character plays and develops. The skill system combines the best from our previous games, and you can unlock new skills as you level up, and then you rank those skills up by using them and completing challenges. And there's deep crafting systems, from running research projects with resources you find, to crafting weapon mods needed to survive. And you can build your own outposts. These act as a home away from home for survival and resource generation. You can choose where and how to build each one, and you can hire characters you meet to keep it up and running. But that's not all. You can even build your own spaceships. You can choose crew members, and yes, you can completely customize the look and layout. There's loads of different modules, ship manufacturers, and more. I have to say, it's so cool. We just absolutely love this. It's not just how the ship looks, it's how it performs, from engines to shields to weapon systems, because yes, you can fly it.
Thrusters boosted.
We can't wait for all of you to experience the game. Thanks again for being with us today, and thanks for all the support you've given us over the decades, especially on this game. It's been an incredible journey for us making it, but we know that's really only the beginning, for it's when all of you play it that the real journey begins. And you may be wondering, just how big is this game? So we thought we'd take one last moment and show you. Let's take a look at one of our planets, Jemison. You can land in New Atlantis, but you can also land and explore anywhere on the planet. And it's not just this planet, it's all the planets in the system. From barren but resource-heavy ice balls to Goldilocks planets with life. And not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore. We can't wait to see what you find.
Hi, I'm Jess Finster, Community Director, and I'm here visiting Bethesda Game Studios, where the team is hard at work on Starfield. I just want to say how grateful we all are for all of the feedback, support, and questions that you have been sharing with us on Reddit, Discord, Twitter. So we wanted to take a moment to answer some of those questions in our new series. So let's get started. First thing that we want to know is what inspired Starfield?
Oh, you know, so many things. I think the main ones that, I'm going to go back like in time here. Sundog is a big one. Amazing game, kind of like the science fiction game when Ultimas were out. It also had this parcelless interface, kind of one of the first games where you're moving objects around and putting them together, but great game where you had your own ship and you could explore around that I loved. Another one, this is a kind of pen and paper role-playing game at the time where, D&D was getting popular, is this game Traveler. Traveler was a little more hard science fiction. The other thing there, it's one of the first games I programmed on the Apple II at the time. I really wanted to make a Traveler game. It was also my first time realizing that computers had memory that you could run out of. I can already see the comments, people saying, you've been running computers out of memory for 40 years now, but that's an easy comment, everybody. You can do better. But those are the big ones, hearkening back to those old role-playing games that we loved, and hey, can we pull off something like this with today's computers and consoles, and et cetera.
You mentioned hard space or hard sci-fi, and I know that that's one of the things that's been hotly debated in the community. Is Starfield considered a hard sci-fi?
I never quite know, because that's always like, what do they think it is if you say yes or no? I think it is more hard to us, hard science fiction, where you can draw that line from, okay, here's how man explored space, and you can even look at our ships and say, all right, that has some, visual identity back to that. But it's a trap question because it's a video game, right? Like a hard science fiction video game would be, you die in space cold. And a good example, we were really into fuel and how the gravity drive works, and I'm reading papers on quantum physics and bending space in front of you. You don't actually warp, you bend the space, you bring the space towards you. And so we were playing that, and it became very punitive to the player. Your ship would run out of fuel and the game would just stop. You just want to get back to what you're doing. So we've recently changed it where the fuel in your ship and the grav drive limits how far you could go at once, but it doesn't run out of fuel. Maybe there'll be an update or a mod that allows that, but that's what we're doing now.
Constellation members are excited about the character customization and the traits in the game. Can you talk more about what players will experience with the traits?
I love our trait list. It's super fun. But each one obviously comes with some sort of negative as well. And we have a way in the game, kind of an activity or quest you can do to remove that trait, as opposed to, don't like my character, I want to start over. Each of them are something like that you can solve that removes the entire trait for the rest of your playthrough.
The last question, we have speech checks and dialogue that reflect your character build. Do you want to expand upon that at all?
Yeah, look, we've done a lot of different dialogue systems. We've gone back to kind of I'll call it like a classic Bethesda style dialogue with, you're looking at the character and how they emote. You have a series of choices there. The scope of the game, the amount of content we're making is a bit more than we've done before in terms of quests and things like that. But the depth in some of this stuff with the dialogue, we just passed 250,000 lines. And so that's a lot of dialogue, but we've gone through it and the impact is really there. And that includes my favorite speech persuasion system.
You're not talking us out of this score.
It feels like it's part of the dialogue, but you're spending points to persuade them.
You're willing to give up the ship? Just like that?
It feels natural, not like I've entered some other mode where I'm not doing regular dialogue. It's just I'm in this mode of persuading you to get what I want.
Having a way with words might prove useful.
That's it. That's all the questions that I had for today.
Yeah, this has been great. Everybody out there, keep it coming. We do really read it all. And also we look forward to showing you more of the game in the future as well.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. That's all we have for today. But don't forget, you can submit your questions at the hashtag below. See you later. Hi, I'm Jess Finster, Community Director at Bethesda, and I'm back at Bethesda Game Studios doing another round of Constellation questions. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted your questions on Discord, Reddit, Twitter. We really appreciated reading them all. Today we're talking with Starfield's lead quest designer, Will Shen, on quests. So let's get started. Hi, Will.
Hi, Jess.
Do you want to give a brief intro to yourself so they can get to know you a little bit better?
Sure. I'm Will Shen. I'm the lead quest designer on Starfield, and I am also responsible for the main quest.
Well, we got some of the top questions from our community that they want to know about Starfield. First question. One of the best things about the previous games were random encounters that you have in the world. For Starfield, how has the random encounter system been improved or expanded upon, if at all?
So very exciting. This time around, we have entire planets that we have to populate. So we actually have new tech to take whole locations that we've built and put them on the planets. Now you could say maybe you're going to an outpost and you actually discover there's a whole group of people there with a particular problem. Whereas, before it might be just a person coming to you along the road. Now it's an actual whole location that can be put there. And maybe they have a problem like one of our members was kidnapped. They've been kidnapped by some pirates. We think they're over there. We actually are replacing a whole other location with that person in it and enemies around it. So it's a dynamically placed settlement that is taking you to a dynamically placed dungeon as you're walking through the planet.
So basically, at any point in time on a planet, you can just experience a random encounter anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're really only just scratching the surface of what that tech can do.
We can see what looks like Earth's own solar system in the Starfield gameplay trailer. Will there be quests taking us back there and exploring how things have changed?
Yeah, actually, very early on in the main quest, we take you to our solar system, which in our lore is called the Old Neighborhood.
Nice.
And you'll be being sent there on a mission from Constellation to discover the mysteries of the artifacts. And you'll get in contact with the question of what happened to Earth, but also you'll go to Mars, and there's actually a settlement, one of the early settlements that humanity created after they left Earth. It's called Sidonia, and that's a whole city with its own problems and people to meet.
How will faction quest lines work compared to other BGS games? Can we join multiple factions and complete all of them like in Skyrim, or does joining one lock you out of certain others like in Fallout 4?
Yeah, so one of the early things we decided on was making sure that the main quest actually kind of gives you a little bit of a tour of the settled systems and all of the major players there so that we can give you a taste of what they're going to be up to.
We're peacekeepers. We protect the people of the Free Star Collective.
We also discussed really early on, like, okay, do we make some of the factions be in conflict with each other? And we decided, we really want to make sure that you can play through all the faction lines independently of each other. And this time around, we were like, no, we really want the stories to be a little more personal, right? You're influencing the direction of where this faction is going to go. So say the politics of the Freestar Rangers, right? What's more important? Is it justice or industry, right? Where are you going to try to nudge them in this direction or another? So you don't necessarily end up as the head of every single faction of the game. But, obviously all the major characters in every faction quest line will be reflecting on your choices, but, it can have far-reaching consequences for what that faction is, what it cares about.
What will the role of some of the companions be during quests?
The companions along the Constellation storyline, which is the main quest, they'll have a lot of opinions and points of view about what the decisions you'll be making along the main storyline. We've also added in several times where you can ask them to speak for you. So you might have a companion with you and you'll be challenged to, someone will tell you you can't get through here, and you can actually turn to your companion and say, hey, actually, could you handle this? And they'll actually speak on your behalf, and there could be consequences, good or bad, for what they happen to say. And all the usual things you would expect from followers, right? They'll follow you into danger, you can trade equipment with them, and they'll also be crewing your ship, which is new, so they'll be helping out on your ship as well.
Will NPCs react in different ways depending on how the player completes a quest?
Yeah, all the quest lines have major characters, right? That they'll reflect on the decisions you're making, and they'll have opinions about whether they're good or bad, and for a few of the storylines, and including the main quest, who ends up with you at the end, right? There are some, you'll be determining the fates sometimes, whether someone lives or dies, or whether someone's still in the faction or decides to leave the faction. There's a lot of different things that'll happen.
Well, that's all the questions I have for today. Thank you so much, Will, for taking the time. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Will for volunteering his time to answer our questions, and thank you for submitting your questions. If you want to be the first to know about videos like this one or other news about Starfield, we encourage you to sign up to join Constellation. You can also submit any Starfield questions you would like to know at the hashtag here. So until next time, thank you, and we'll see you soon.